Welcome to The Warm-Up, a brand new Scottish football show brought to you by William Hill, the new title sponsors of the SPFL. We know Scottish football guarantees drama, excitement, even a bit of madness along the way, and we, along with our special guests, are here for it right throughout the season.
We're heading to Dundee this week to find out what makes the Dundee Derby so special ahead of its return to the top flight. We'll also be speaking to the captains of Falkirk and Stenhousemuir ahead of their flag days.
I actually played against Nazy in a derby. He was an angry man. Honestly, he sits here now as if butter wouldn't melt.
And up here, he was at Falkirk.
That's right, yeah, of course
scored
he
a
was.
hat-trick against them. But
Oh, there we are. I had to get that one in there.
He's not having him.
We'll
No,
remind
to
him
be
of
honest,
that.
So, how was your pre-season? You're just back from America, got a bit of a tan as well, looking good.
Not bad. I'll disappear in the next few days, that's for sure.
Welcome to The Warm-Up.
Well, here we are, our new home, and I did say we would have some special guests. We've set the bar really high on week one. We've got Marvin Bartley and Stephen Naismith. Welcome to you both. Same question to you both, starting with you though, Stephen. Just how much are you looking forward to the new season?
really looking forward to it. I think pre-season, you get the buzz at the start when you're back and everybody's in and new signings are in and everybody's feeling good, but it becomes a grind. It becomes hard work. Everybody's fatigued. Everybody's brain works harder than their bodies. But then you get to the end point where it starts to kick in the stuff that everybody's most interested in. So yeah, really looking forward to it. Probably a bit more assured and comfortable this year than I was last year.
And so for you, Marvin, as well, no pre-season?
Yeah.
For the first time in 16
Always
years, I
happy
think?
looking. He's got his feet up.
Honestly, absolutely fantastic. I think, 16 years, 17 years, not chasing that ball around or looking at players. Stephen will tell you, go on holiday in the first maybe 3 or 4 hours of the days on the laptop, watching Y-Scout, speaking to agents throughout the whole day. Your missus looking at you and your phone's ringing and you look at her and think, can I pick this up? And you're like, I need to get this one. So
Stephen, on a more serious note then, what does success look like for Hearts this season? Because you had a successful season last season, that third place finish. People will look at how do you better that? What does success look like?
For the fan, for the pundit, it's third and how far you can go in the cups. That's what the basic level is you're judged on. But for me, it's so much more than that. Our individual goals in certain areas of the pitch, the amount of times we came back from losing positions to away wins to home wins to amount of points, that's what I really judge it on. So that will give us a clear indication whether we've improved or not. I've always been the type that wants to win. I want to win all the time. I think we've got a squad who's young but been successful and can definitely be better and improve. So it's better in all the aspects that we did last season, and continue to drive just to move the club from where I took over to whenever I leave it, that it's in a better place, further forward, and a bigger club in general.
What a fixture to kick off, because like Hearts Rangers is one of those you look out for at any time of the season, never mind on the opening weekend. How much are you looking forward to it? What type of challenge do you expect this weekend?
Yeah, being the opening game, there'll be a right buzz about it. It'll be a full house. So I'm looking forward to it from that point of view, as is what the game will be like. It'll be similar to a lot of the games that we played against them last season. There's two teams that have got players that can hurt you, and I think we need to be on guard defensively and be switched on, because there was a couple of occasions last season that we weren't switched on and we get done badly. But on the other ones, we've competed well, we've caused them loads of problems, and that's the biggest thing. Being at home, we fancy ourselves against MD. We think we can go into the games and win them, but the hard work, the intensity that we do things, that's the stuff that whatever team has the better of that is going to give you the better chance of winning the game.
Yeah, what a game to kick things off. Let's take a look at what else we have in store on a blockbuster opening weekend. That is game one. That will kick everything off. Hearts against Rangers, the only other game on Saturday. Motherwell and Ross County. Not a huge deal between them in the league last season, so that should be an interesting one at Fir Park. St Mirren, of course, will come off the back of European action to take on Hibs. A special day for Celtic, Flag Day. Plenty more from them later on in the show, with the visit of Kilmarnock, and right through to Monday night, a feast of football this weekend, St Johnstone and Aberdeen. But there was a method to the madness Sam, I've deliberately missed it out. There is one fixture on there that has you written all over it.
Of course, yeah, the Dundee Derby, flag day for Dundee United as well as Celtic in the Premiership, and it's returning for the first time for a couple of years. So we headed to the City of Discovery to speak to some fans ahead of the big match.
The Dundee Derby is the best derby in Scotland because it is based on genuine joy and kind of fraternal competition across the whole city.
It's just so unpredictable and it's so exciting and action-packed every single time.
Because everybody's so close-knit in Dundee, that it just makes it unbelievable.
The first derby I went to and that I remember, Darius Adamczyk, the equalising goal in the 2-2 derby match, and he scored the last-minute equaliser to, get us a draw. And I just remember running down onto the grass verge at the Derry, and it just seemed like everybody was there. And from that moment, I was hooked.
Favourite derby memory's got to be winning the league at Dens. Absolute class. And it was nail-biting until the end of that game. Unbelievable experience.
It's strange because it's that close. You walk past where you normally go to watch football and you only walk another 100 yards and you're at an away game. It's so unique, it's unbelievable.
The best derby goal of all time for me was Billy McKinley's 25-yard volley against Dundee. The score was 3-2. Billy scored a hat-trick that day.
When you're at the games, you're obviously hating United fans, but at the same time you look over and you see 3 or 4 of your mates in the opposite stand. So you're giving them it, but then you're not giving them it, and then you're having a laugh with them sometimes.
It's unique. But then once the final whistle goes and you're back in the pub again, it's back to just arms around people, and there's a bit of banter, but there's nobody's angry. But the football means everything at the time.
Favourite derby memory? The relegation derby. The Doon derby for me. Just the whole evening was just spectacular. The tickets were like gold dust and the atmosphere was electric, for me personally. But it was great seeing the United fans' tears as we relegated.
For me, probably the best derby memory is the original 6-2, and the best goal that I've ever seen at Tannadice is Gary Mackay-Stevens. Dances for about 30 yards and then smashes it very intentionally into top corner, and it was just such a joyful thing. Like, it's what you want for football. Like, the whole stadium is up on their feet. You've witnessed something really spectacular.
You feel like you're playing the game, you're kicking the ball with the players, and come the end of the 90 minutes you're knackered. Best derby in Scotland, I'd probably go as far as say it's the best derby in the UK.
Stephen, you're the derby expert. You've played in Glasgow, Edinburgh, down in Merseyside. So I don't quite expect you to agree fully that Dundee's the best in the UK. But what is it that's so special about derby games and what they do for everyone involved?
I'm also not sure that after the game you're all shaking hands and that either. It means more to the fans, and I think in my experience from all the derbies are the week of, the atmosphere from when you're talking to somebody in the city, or whether you're travelling and there's a taxi driver or whatever. It means more. So that's all that everybody's talking about, and it's a lot of the times that's bigger than where you're finishing. Like, you need to win your derby games. That's what probably I've heard most from every club I've been at that's had a derby. And when you're a player, very rarely is it the team with the most quality on the pitch that wins it. It's the ones that want it the most. Probably the biggest highlight of that I've noticed is when the Old Firm, where you've maybe had a few injuries or suspensions, and like the media do in Scotland, they write everybody off, and you're never going to win it. More so than not, the team that was the underdog ended up winning. So it's who wants it more, I think, in derbies in general. But they're great occasions to play in.
They're all different in their own way, but listening to the fans, I wonder, are there similarities between Everton, Liverpool maybe, and the Dundee derby, where it's like, families can be divided, and it is a bit more of that kind of, it's a rivalry, and for 90 minutes you're not happy with each other, but kind of friendly atmosphere?
Yeah, I think in the Edinburgh derby, the Old Firm and the Merseyside, I found very similar. Just because I think that fact that it's so ingrained within families and split between families, and it's very, Scottish people in general are very passionate. Scousers are very passionate, and that's probably the biggest thing that comes through in these games, is that that passion and the desire that they must get the win, and that's why when you win it's so high, and when you lose it's so low, and you're days before you're actually tuned back into what you should be.
And Marvin, do you think that Scottish football's better off by having the Dundee Derby back?
Yeah, 100%. You know, as Stephen said there about the passion. I think obviously I'm from the south of England, but the further north you go in England, the more passionate people are. But when you come to Scotland, it's just a totally different level. Again, you know, meeting people in and around the streets, you know, before these games, you saw the fans there, and you know, you kind of feel like really involved in it. And I don't support either of those two clubs, so no, it's fantastic. It's much better. The more derbies you can have in our top flight, the better. And the better it looks to people, you know, watching from the outside, and it helps our game grow.
And how about some of the derbies that you've played in then as well?
Yeah, I actually played against Nazy in a derby. He was an angry man. Honestly, he sits here now as if butter wouldn't melt. So we
That's coming from you as well, I suspect.
Yeah.
Smash me a few times.
I had to because he's a better player. I said I was the underdog against him. So, yeah, listen, played in a few myself. I really enjoyed it. And to be honest, even though I support his, playing at Tynecastle for me in the derbies was better. The fans are a lot closer. I probably enjoyed the abuse I used to get from them as well. So, you know, it's like, yeah, listen, derby games are absolutely huge.
Yeah, I'm going on Sunday. I am looking forward to it very much. Now, if anyone has ever been on YouTube, you'll know this man spends his life driving up and down Scotland, going to various football grounds across the country. So we thought we'd put those skills to good use, and we even lined up some special passengers for him as well.
I'm off for a road trip today. We're spending the day with Ross Docherty, who won the championship as Dundee United's captain last season. We'll also be chatting to Callum McGregor. We're going to take them both for a drive, spend the day with them, have a little bit of a road trip around Scotland and see how they're feeling ahead of the new season. So just into Dundee then, yeah?
Into Dundee, yeah.
Positive just now at the training ground. I'm sure it must be after last season.
Yeah, I think like for us, there's a kind of natural buzz. Of course, you're going into a new season as champions, and I think it's testament to the staff and the players alike that we've managed to get through, and you're almost kind of pushing in a positive direction now.
And although you had the highest points tally in the championship for a long time,
yeah,
come the end of the season, it was quite close between yourselves and Rafe during the season, obviously. Mm-hmm. Was there parts of the season where you were looking at the table, looking at Rafe, worried that it wasn't ever going to come off? Were you always confident you were going to win it?
No, obviously Rafe were a huge challenge, and I said this before, like, all credit to Rafe, but for us, when we were under that pressure, we were confident in ourselves and in our group, and that we were doing the right things, and the manager kind of tried to put that onto us, and United are a huge club, so that pressure was there, it was always going to be there, but I think on the whole we handled it pretty well. I know some folk might not agree with that, but I think we did.
Right, mate, here we go. Discovery point.
Perfect.
We're about to discover how your knowledge is. Got a couple of questions for you on last season, right, mate? You ready?
Yeah, all good.
Who was Dundee United's top scorer in the league?
Louis Moult.
Correct. And how many goals did he get?
19.
18.
Oh,
Close. Who did you open the season against?
Oh my God.
It's really racking the brain, you know.
Arbroath?
Arbroath, correct, yeah. And who scored Dundee United's first goal of the season against Arbroath?
Craig Sibbald.
Glenn Middleton. Who was your biggest win against last season?
What did I win? Arbroath?
Arbroath, yeah. 6-0. How many games did Dundee United win in the league last season? That's a tough one.
22.
Oh, he's nailed it. 22.
Not bad.
How many goals did you score last season?
3.
3, yeah. You've done your research.
Aye.
Who did you get your first goal against last season?
Arbroath.
Arbroath, yeah.
6-0 game.
Yeah. Who made the most appearances for you last season?
Jack Walton.
Jack Walton, yeah. Right, mate.
7.
So, out of those, 7 right. Happy with that?
Aye, that's good.
You'll
I'm
take
buzzing
that.
with that. I am buzzing.
Mate, you got a career in maybe the chase or tipping point or something
I
like
love the chase, to be fair. Maybe
You
it's
can
my
tell you've been watching
experience
it,
of
yeah.
watching it. Aye.
Right, mate. So, thanks for coming along with us today.
No problem
How
at
was
all.
the journey? All good?
I was very smooth, aye.
Yeah,
very smooth,
nice, okay.
impressed with the driving.
Right, mate. Thanks for coming.
Cheers.
Legend.
Thank
Cheers,
you,
mate. Callum, hello, mate. How you doing? You okay?
Aye, not bad, thanks.
Right, where are we heading?
Let's go to the coffee shop.
Right, okay, let's do this. So, how was your pre-season? You're just back from America. Got a bit of a tan as well. Looking good.
Aye, not bad. It'll disappear in the next few days, that's for sure. But yeah, America was great.
Yep.
Some really good games. That team bonding time as well, which is always important in pre-season.
So have you got any routines in the car? Do you usually listen to podcasts on the way to training, music, or
I'm going to disappoint you there. It's normally just Smooth Radio, which is
Smooth, right? Okay,
got
yeah.
a lot of 80s music on it. So
nice. More of a relaxed vibe getting into training.
That is, John Mellis in the morning.
Last season, you won Celtic's 54th league title. Rangers are on 55. You're level on total trophies won as well. Do those kind of records get spoken about at all? Do you ever think about those personally? Or
I think for us as players, we just try and be successful every season, and that means trying to bring silverware back to the club. So those little landmarks, they'll play a part in the bigger picture. But I think for us as players, the next game is always the most important for us, and the next trophy on offer, we want to try and win it.
Right, mate, we're here.
Perfect.
I've got one more thing for you, though. We're going to test how good your knowledge is from last season. How do you reckon it'll be?
Easy, at best.
Let's do it.
Here we go.
Who did Celtic open the season against?
Ross County.
Flag Day last year, yeah, Ross County. Who scored your first goal against Ross County?
Hugo. No?
David Turnbull.
Oh, so
do you remember that one now?
Aye.
What was your highest scoring game of last season?
6-0. Aberdeen. 5-0. 6-0.
7-1 Dundee.
Oh, so it is, of course.
How many games did Celtic win in the league last season?
30.
29. How many goals did you score in the league?
2.
2, yep, correct. Who did you get your first goal against?
St Johnstone.
St Johnstone, yeah. Who made most appearances for Celtic last year?
Joe Hart.
Kyogo.
Really?
Yeah, 38.
Oh,
How many goals did Celtic score last season?
Did we break 100? 92.
95.
So you get half a point for
We'll
being
give you
close.
maybe 3.
That's embarrassing.
You got 3.
That's embarrassing, isn't it? And 2 of them are about me.
Well, stick to football maybe.
Aye, that's it.
Right, mate, that's us. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
How
Thanks
was
for
the drive? All right?
That was good. Aye, well
Nice.
done. Good
Right, mate.
driving.
Good luck this season, yeah.
Top man. Cheers.
Cheers, Callum. Thank you.
There we go. Both players praised your driving. No one commented on the fact that you kept your sunglasses on, even though it looked quite cloudy in Dundee. But listen, I know fashion comes first for you, so that's fine. Stephen, look, Celtic obviously winning the title again last season. Is it just as simple as they're the pace setters? How do you view that challenge?
I think they are. They have been consistent. I don't think they've had as big a turnaround in their squad. That's probably a telling part of the last 2-3 years. Yes, there's players been signed and players moved on, but it's not reactive. It's not desperately needing somebody in a position. They took some criticism last year about recruitment and maybe not spending what some of the fans wanted, but they've got a core group of players who understand the demand, they understand the relentlessness needed, and that's probably why they have consistently been up the top. So yeah, they're probably going to go into this season favourites again.
And we heard from Callum McGregor there in the VT. You obviously played with him during Scotland duty. How was he as a teammate?
He's quiet, but he's got a quiet confidence. I think you can tell by his interviews and the way he talks. He knows the game. His intelligence, game intelligence, but his intelligence about football is really good. And I remember way back when he started as a winger, and it was Brendan Rodgers' first time round that kind of changed that, and that's probably what propelled his career. But his understanding, he was a winger who always wanted to take loads of touches, beat his man, and wouldn't release the ball at the right time. But now that's probably the furthest thing from him. He knows when to pass, he knows where space is, he knows where he's taking defenders. So he's been one of the Scotland greats, and I think in years to come he'll be seen as that when he retires. And he was a really nice guy in person as well.
Marvin, hearing from the Dundee United camp as well, special weekend for them, as Sam alluded to. What do you think the challenge looks like? Because most clubs, when they come up, it's just about survival. But then Dundee United are such a big club. You wonder how they view things. What do you think their season has in store?
Yeah, I think the fans will expect, like you said, the size of the club. I think they'll expect to come up and potentially finish in the top 6, which isn't easily done. But with Dundee doing it last season, Dundee United fans would expect the same. It's a tough challenge. There's a lot of good teams, within this league. Stephen said about Celtic kind of leading that, and you've probably got 2 or 3 teams underneath that, with Hearts being one of them. And then it's much of a muchness for me, from the outside looking in. Obviously, as a manager, he would never say that, because it take every game as if it's the last game rather. But for me, I think Dundee United can do it. But as I said, there's going to be a real tight group of teams where you could, potentially be 11th, or you could be in 6th place.
I think the margins are so small, and that's the difference in games. I think you've seen that last season. Teams beating things you wouldn't expect, but the margins are so small, so tight, yeah.
And obviously it won't just be Dundee United and Celtic who have got trophy days to contend with. We headed to Falkirk and Stenhousemuir to hear from their captains ahead of their own flag days.
Club have waited a long time to get their hands on this silverware, so one I'm really proud of, and hopefully we can take that success of last season into this new campaign.
The unbeaten run was last year. I think that's quite important that we mention that we sort of had those discussions on the first day back with the gaffer. We realised how difficult a league this championship's going to be. It's going to be a completely different challenge to what we faced last year. Last year we were the sort of big fish, whereas this year we're not as much. So we're quietly confident. We just want to keep the momentum going. We're excited. That's the most important thing. We're really excited for the season ahead.
I think in terms of to get that success, we know it's going to be a difficult but a very competitive league. It's going to be an entertaining league that we'll be enjoying every week and making the most of it.
It's a great honour to be named the captain. I had the pleasure of wearing the armband a few times last season with McGinn missing a few games through injury, but getting it from him is special as well because he's such an important guy for me. He's taught me so much and learned a lot from him over the last couple of years, and hopefully I can do as good a job as he did.
I think it would be silly for me to come out and give you too much away, but if we can get to that 40-point mark as quickly as possible, that usually means you're successfully there in that league the next again season. So the quicker we can do that, the quicker we can try and make it even more successful and be moving up the table.
Pretty much every team will be saying that there's a chance, whether it might not be winning the league, it's getting into those 4 spots, the playoff spots, which at that point it becomes a lottery. Anyone can sort of go up at that point. But yeah, I don't think there's any team sort of jumping out like there has been maybe in previous years that'll win the league with sort of 5-6 games to go. I think there'll be a right few sort of teams that, like ourselves, can feel like if you start well, pick up that momentum and get things going.
Marvin, you got a close look at Falkirk in League One last season. The fans will feel like they were in that division for far too long. They won it so well, didn't lose a game. They've kept pretty much the same squad. It feels like a real deliberate attempt to keep that continuity. What do you think the step up to the Championship will look like, having seen them last season?
Yeah, there's definitely a step up in terms of quality from League One to the Championship, but I think those players can take it within their stride. I think they had a real identity last season. We've got 2 wide players who were constantly, having you defending, willing to run forward off the ball, with Stephen was telling you now. Not a lot of players want to do that. They played football the right way as well. And I actually think they can get into the playoffs again. I think that will be their aim. Not many teams can go through a season unbeaten. They've managed to do that. Like I said, they haven't really had to add too many players to it because the quality is already there. It's about those players now growing into it. They're going to have massive belief after last season. As you said there, if they can start the season well, then the world's kind of their oyster in that league.
And all those leagues are quite tight, aren't they, this year? It's hard to pick a winner in the Championship, League One and League Two. How do you see them going?
I think the Championship will be great. Just with there is 5, 6, 7 teams in there who really do fancy themselves. I watched actually a lot of the Championship last season, and again, it's who's on the day going to be performing better. That's going to and then as the season goes on, that pressure, because the playoffs and the automatic place, brings another dimension to it. So that'll be a really interesting season.
And so, as managers, have you ever faced much stick over team selection? I'm sure you have at times.
Yeah. Exactly, Twitter. Nobody's ever lost a game on Twitter, have they? Oh, you got the wrong team. Yeah.
Well, there we go. Well, you can roast our team selection now. We're going to look at our fantasy teams, Gordon.
Oh, I'm dreading this, I have to say. Sam's at least billed himself as a fantasy football expert. He fancies this. I've never really dabbled. First of all, it was all about getting the name. I had to get a Motherwell pun in there, so I've gone Paul McWinners. No, Tumbleweed, right, never mind. That's fine. Obviously, Kasper Schmeichel in goal, high profile signing, maybe more about him later on. There are a couple of maroon jerseys there, Stephen. I've put a bit of pressure on you. It's really your recruitment, and Gerald Taylor, see if you can get me some points. Of course, Matt O'Reilly, if he can post the same numbers, as they say, as last season. Everyone who's watched Motherwell tends to be a fan of what Lennon Miller does in there. In the transfer market, do I have any idea if Czerny's going to be a good signing for Rangers? No, but I thought for a bit of excitement, I'd chuck a new signing in there, see what happens. Simon Murray on the move as well. And of course, your man's in there, Stephen. He better get me the goals. You happy with that team?
Looks all right.
All right.
I don't like it.
Wow.
No, I don't like
What's
it.
up with it?
Just because this is what happens to us as managers. No matter who you pick, people don't like it.
Right, okay.
So, we just don't like it.
Management games.
We don't like it.
Do you play fantasy football? Are you...
Yeah,
a fan?
yeah.
You need to join this league then and put your money where
Actually,
your
I've got
mouth
a
is,
story
so
about
to speak.
fantasy football. I won't mention the staff member. I remember I was at Livingston, and I can't remember who we were playing. Say we were playing Hearts, for example, and he showed us his fantasy team, and he actually had, like, for example, Shankland as his captain, and we're like, hang on a minute, we're going to play them, and he actually benched 2 of us, and I was one of the players he benched, and I was like, mate, like, come on, what's going on here? A member of staff.
He knew you'd get a book.
I was going to say, sounds like he's got good taste to me. Very astute. Sam, let's take a look.
That's funny.
at yours.
Yeah,
Come
let's
on.
have a look at my team as well. I think I've done quite well with this. I've been quite tactical with some of my choices. I've got Dujon Sterling, who's classed as a defender but might play further forward. Same with Cortez as well. He's a midfielder in the game, but he could play as part of the front three. Will play as part of the
It
front
just
three.
seems
of
like you're
course.
bending the rules to me, but never mind.
No, you've got to be tactical within
That's
the rules of the
experience.
game as well.
That's
Exactly. Yeah, as an
experience.
experienced manager right here. Jamie McGrath as well in midfield. I think he's had a good start to the season in the League Cup too. Is there anyone that stands out there for you lads?
Your captain is on the wrong side, I think.
That's a bit cool.
He's not
I don't
happy
know.
with
It
that.
was,
He doesn't like the team.
It was a toss up between Kyogo and Shankland. I just didn't want to copy Gordon too much.
Yeah, no, I prefer yours. I
Okay,
prefer
thanks,
your
mate.
team.
I appreciate that.
One of the most high-profile transfers, though, Stephen, I think it's safe to say would be Kasper Schmeichel, because a big name, big gloves to fill, and Joe Hart, you played against him, I think, down the road. What
And
did you
up
make
here.
of-
He was
what
at
did you make of-
Falkirk on
That's
loan.
right, yeah, of course
Scored
he
a
was.
hat-trick against them.
Oh, there we are. Had to get that one in there.
He's not having him.
We'll
No,
remind
to
him
be
of that.
honest, I think he's a really good signing. I think as much as when Joe Hart signed, everybody's thinking 1 season, come in, fill a gap, but what he done shows that in terms of that experience is crucial. Kasper's probably better with his feet, which will help. And from knowing him, he's a great guy, loads of experience, he'll pass that on. So I think it's a good signing for Celtic.
And Simon Murray as well was a come back to Dundee, obviously. How do you think he'll get on this season?
I think he'll do really well. Simon's one of those players, he's kind of Marmite for managers, because a lot of people, especially in Scotland, we like to speak about what people can't do, but it's what he can do. Not only his goal return, you're always going to get 100% effort out of him. He's always going to run in behind. He's always going to press defenders, but also his journey. I think it was Montrose where he started, and then Arbroath where he really kicked on. For any young player out there that's not in an academy, there's always this massive pressure now. If you're not in an academy, you're not going to make it. He's a perfect example in Scotland where, he came into the game a lot later, part-time football, then he got into full-time football, and he's never looked back. And as he said, he kind of kept Ross County up last season single-handedly without
In the
being
playoffs as
disrespectful
well,
to them.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely massive goals for them. And, he's moved back now to Dundee, the area of Dundee, because of his family. And I expect him to take it like a duck to water.
Yeah. Former teammate of yours as well, of course. Stephen, I did say your recruitment is, it's going to impact me here as well. Gerald Taylor was one that I put in. What are you expecting from him? And I suppose generally, how do you enjoy that process of finding these guys?
It's hard work, and there's again, people are easy to judge on signings and say it's a bad signing or a good signing. It's a black and white for lots of people, but there's so many elements of it. A player settling, their ability, what is their family situation, where are they moving from? There's so many areas you need to think about, and it's all a risk. It is all a risk. You need to try and minimise the risk and think that. But Gerald's come in on the back of being at a club that's got a demand, that's got a pressure on them, like we do at Hearts. He's played with a big club. They've won trophies. He's consistently international level now. So that's where that risk gets minimised because of the level he's playing at and what he's doing. He's somebody who likes to attack, wants to get up and down the pitch. He's got athleticism is really good. And he's a good defender. That's probably a big area that you do look for, because nowadays you're asking your defenders to defend 1v1. It's the hardest part of the game. So yeah, we're excited about him, and hopefully he's a good season.
Have you warned him about the winters here?
It's funny, I was texting Kenneth Vargas about when he was away, and he actually replies, "I'm actually missing the cold."
Yeah.
So
He's converted now, yeah.
so hopefully Gerald will be the same.
And is he and everybody else in the squad helping him settle? Because what are some of the finer details that go into signing a player from
For me, that's a big part of signing a player, the character. It goes unseen. People look at the ability, what can they do in video, and when you watch them in a 90 minutes, if they're a horrible person, they're just going to destroy a changing room and the mentality and the group feeling you're building. So it's a big area we focus on. And then to that, the squad we've got are amazing for integrating, whether it be young players coming up for the academy or whether it's new signings. So no, we do it well, and that's probably helped in our success in the last year.
Do you enjoy that side of it? Because at this time of the year, the exciting bit is probably trying to recruit new players. The other side is trying to keep a hold of the ones that you have. I bet in your daily life, every conversation you have, someone asks you about Lawrence Shankland because of the contribution that he makes to your team. What's the balance like? How much do you enjoy that as a manager?
I enjoy trying to make us better and drive that competitive edge within the group. That's the bit that I enjoy, and probably more than a lot is getting academy players through. I think there's a real enjoyment in that. In terms of the constant asking about, I think, players leaving or Shanks leaving or whatever, it's part of the job. I'm trying to be honest all the time with it, but I'll not keep repeating the same conversation. So I'll have it once, and then, especially in your press conferences, I'll not be mentioning it again after the one time.
There you go.
There we go.
No more
That's
mentions.
your warning.
I feel like that was aimed specifically at
Yeah, I did as well, and I really liked it.
I feel like I have to take that on the chin.
Yeah.
Next
I
Friday's
enjoyed
going to
that.
be a different one. Anyway, I've got more quick fire questions for you before we go. We're going to finish with the rondo. See what we did there, using like modern football terminology, as if Sam and I really know what that is.
Love to see you in a rondo.
Exactly. No, you
Someone's
wouldn't.
be in the middle, man.
Believe me. So what that is, quick fire questions to each of you. Stephen, you're my lucky victim first. Marvin, you can go. Sam, in just a second. Let's see what we can come up with. Stephen, a hat-trick for Hearts, Everton and Killie. Which one was your best?
Any hat-trick's a good one, but probably Everton when it's against the previous year's champions against Chelsea, so that's probably the favourite.
And he's already thrown in the Kasper Schmeichel one anyway, so we can park that. What's better, playing or managing?
Playing.
Easy one. I think they all say that, don't they? Best derby you've played in? Who's it going to upset?
Like I said, see, the three ones that stick to my mind are Edinburgh, Glasgow and Merseyside, and I think there's a similarity with the clubs. There's a demand for the clubs and there's a passion, so there's probably not one I could pick out.
This would be good. Share a stadium with your neighbours, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
I think if you get it right, you get a great stadium. A great stadium makes a big difference, and I think we're spoiled at Tiny because Tiny's amazing. When I was a player, going down to England, come back up, Tiny's still in my top 3-4 stadiums to play in that atmosphere wise. So if I was going to get a proper stadium, I'd say yes.
Okay, and the biggest name on your pro licence course, who were the big hitters on there?
A lot of them are guys I played with. Scott Brown, Charlie Adam, Charlie Mulgrew. So it's a good group, to be fair, not just the guys we played with, but we've got a good group in our pro licence, which is going to make a big difference over the next 2 years.
Good, came through that unscathed. Your turn. Let's see what nonsense
Right,
you
go
can come up
left.
with.
Ready, Marvin? Here we go, mate. So, scoring, would you rather score a derby winner, or manage a derby win?
Oh, if we can say tackle or smash
I was
someone.
thinking, I was going
I'll go for the tackle, 100%. Score, definitely score. Yeah.
Most famous person in the phone book?
Ooh.
Present company excluded, obviously.
JJ Watt, since the summer.
I knew he was going to say
JJ Watt. Big JJ,
Right,
man.
okay,
after
nice.
that 7-a-side tournament he
Yeah.
somehow got invited to in the
Exactly.
summer.
Didn't win a game.
Incredible.
Scored
And so,
3 goals.
wearing a suit or a tracksuit on the touchline?
Depends on the level. There's nothing worse outside
There's a
the
bit
top.
in between as well.
Yeah, there is. But outside the top flight, you got to be in a tracksuit.
Do you think there's a certain level where you just can't wear a suit going down to, I don't know, Anna?
Suits
Yeah,
are
I'd agree
uncomfortable
with
as
that.
well. Yeah, you can't do that,
I'd
can
agree
you?
with that.
Yeah.
You're like,
Snobs,
top flight, if
honestly.
you want to wear a suit, batter away. You want to wear normal gear, but see, when you're in championship and beneath, get your tracksuit on, please.
Yeah, nice. I like that.
Thank you.
And which would improve Scottish football more? Extra time being replaced by 11 strangers from the crowd, or extra time being replaced with a multi-ball game?
Oh, no,
Might
11
try that
people.
in training.
Yeah, 11 people from the crowd, by the way, because it's easy to sit in the stand and shout. What
Yeah,
should be
true.
Come on, then come on down.
See how you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
nice. And would you rather win a derby at home or away?
Away. I know you. Obviously, being at Hibs, you miss out on the sunshine and leaf, but there's nothing better than you got that small pocket of fans and you win the game and the stadium empties out nice and early.
Yeah.
I'm going to add a question. How many times have you texted JJ Watt and he's absolutely ignored you?
Do you know what? Never. He
Left
is the
you on
nicest guy. I didn't understand. I don't watch American football. Didn't understand the level of who this person was without being disrespectful. See, when you're out in America, he can't move without people being all over him. But that's what I mean. In the group chat, he's just constantly throwing things in and messaging back. So Never. But
Who
obviously,
else is in that group chat? And I hope they're all going to watch the warm up. By the
who
way,
else was in there? Just ex-players. So Marvin Sordell, don't know if you know Chris Eagles. He was in there.
Sordell was at Bolton, was
Bolton,
he?
yeah,
Back in the
that's
day?
right. Played at Burnley as well. So just everyone else on the team and a few members of staff.
you summered well this year. Honestly,
Oh,
I don't think we'll
tremendous,
phone and ask
man.
you next year.
Tremendous.
Seeing where your team finished in
I was decent.
the table. Are you sure?
No, I didn't even get booked either.
That is a surprise,
Yeah.
I have to say. Sam, I think we're almost there. We could go through their phone book all day long. But
I
we're
think we
almost
could, but I think that's episode 1 done. But yeah, a huge thank you to everybody for watching. Please make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss an upload. Make sure you follow us on all of our socials at William Hill SPFL and follow the link in the description box for our fantasy league as well.
See, that's why he's the YouTube guy. You can do the follow the link thing.
you've
But
got to
anyway,
do the
biggest
button,
thanks
yeah.
obviously goes to Stephen Naismith, Marvin Bartley for joining us. Superb first guests. I'm sure you will agree. We've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time.